We will call to order the meeting, special meeting of the City Commission, January 28th. And the record should show that we have 4 commissioners present tonight. We have 3 items on the agenda. The first item is a second reading of an ordinance concerning our retirement plan. I presume, Mr. Colling, you're going to, or Mr. Colling?
Yes, Mr. President, Commissioners, the ordinance in your packet, this would be second reading of Ordinance 1539. This ordinance makes some technical amendments to the city's retirement plans. The pension plans for the city employees, police employees, and volunteer fire department employees, as well as the defined contribution plan that is available for city employees hired after 2006. These amendments are made principally for the purposes of compliance with federal law. Our plans are being submitted to the Internal Revenue Service for recertification as tax-exempt plans. They're scheduled to be certified as soon as, or submitted to the IRS rather, as soon as this ordinance is adopted by you. There are no changes to the ordinance since first reading, and city staff would recommend approval, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay. We are going to, well, first of all, any questions from commissioners on the second reading?
No.
We'll ask if there's anybody from the audience that wants to comment on this second reading of an ordinance regarding the retirement plan. Anybody from the audience want to comment? If not, we will look for a motion for second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve second reading and final passage ordinance number 1539.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, we will vote. Mrs. Dukart.
Aye.
Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
Mr. Oltmans.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That motion carries. Second agenda item tonight is a pilot request that is a carryover from the last meeting. Mr. Colling again.
Yes, Mr. President, Commissioners, this resolution and agreement is with GA Han Development. They are proposing a low-income housing project located in Fisher East Side Second Subdivision. Pursuant to the city's past practice, we have traditionally agreed with developers on low-income housing projects to do a payment in lieu of taxes at the rate of $350 per rentable unit per year, increasing by an amount of 2% per year for a period of 20 years. This matter has been advertised, noticed as required by state law, and city staff would recommend approval of this resolution and agreement. For your record keeping, this would be Resolution 11-2014. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Colling. Questions from commissioners?
No.
Questions, comments?
I guess I had a chance to read through the enclosure, and it looks like you were able to meet with the party and come up with terms that you're both agreeable. And the key thing that we wanted was it to be the same as other projects that we would approve. We're all for low-income housing for working people and for seniors. We just needed to get the numbers lined up with what we'd done with everything in the past, and that's what this document does. Okay.
Anything else? If not, we'll look for a motion on 11-2014.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, we will vote. Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
Mrs. Dukart.
Aye.
Mr. Oltmans.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That motion carries. The third and final item on our agenda tonight is disposition of the major item remaining on the overpass design that the DOT is doing. I expect most everybody in the audience is here for that reason. I want to clarify things before we move forward. There are a number of issues remaining to be determined on the overpass project. Tonight we are only talking, the only decision we're making tonight is the decision between what most of you have seen as the option 1, option 5 alternates. We know there are other issues out there still. We're going to have to keep working on those with the DOT. But tonight our decision is going to be to choose one of those 2 alternates. Now we're going to let Mr. Kubas, city engineer, explain what's happened since our last public hearing, which was 2-3 weeks ago. But suffice to say, both option 1 and option 5 have been massaged to a degree. They remain essentially as they were, but they've been massaged to a degree. We're going to let Mr. Kubas take us through that, and then we'll move from there.
Thank you, President, Commissioners. What we have before you are the two options, essentially, as we looked at before. What we're calling this option now, it's the Southwest Quadrant Business Access Option 1 Revised. If you remember, Option 1 essentially followed this same route to provide access to the Bible Church and to UPS. In the original Option 1, there was a cul-de-sac, the turnaround area, for the traffic that would need to make that loop back out to Villard Street. We had heard comments about how that would impact the ready mix, and in reviewing it, the DOT has massaged that option to eliminate the cul-de-sac, still providing access to the UPS building here and to the Bible Church on the north side of each building, respectively. The other option that we were looking at is not on here. Maybe we can get that one up quick. The other option, though, was option number 5. Thank you. Providing access to the businesses through Hollywood Boulevard, extending it south and following along the railroad right-of-way, coming underneath the bridge. This option is essentially the same as it was before. As some of you may remember, the option followed directly along Hollywood Boulevard here and turned the corner. What we've done now is we've angled that slightly to come closer to the ready mix building here and remaining away from the residential property here, but still following the same general alignment, turnaround with a cul-de-sac. And then in this option, we would provide the access to the Bible Church here, reducing the need for the right-of-way through here. So this road would provide access to UPS, this road still providing access to the Bible Church. Essentially the same alignment, the same geometry as we looked at before, with some slight modifications based on concerns that we had heard to reduce the impacts. We tried to move this road over as much as we could, and in option 1, if I can get to option 1 anymore, but to reduce the cul-de-sac in front of the ready mix. So those are the options as we have them in front of us today, developed by the DOT, what we're calling, again, option 1 revised and option 5 revised. With that, I'd open it up to any questions that the commission might have for me.
Okay, first, do we have any questions from commissioners? Questions of Mr. Kubas? Or
So in both options, the blue in that one there and the blue in the other option, nothing's changed there between option 1 and option 5, right? They're both the same as far as the blue and the upper left.
No, they're different.
Are you talking this blue that's
Well, except for
this blue here?
and the other one where it comes down here.
Sure.
Outside of that, those are the same in both plans.
That would essentially be the same access for the businesses that front Villard, yeah.
And it's a very good point that you're making. That particular part of the discussion, there is no difference between the two options.
Right.
Tonight we're choosing between the things that do vary between the two. Other questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, we're going to open this up to the public. I see a lot of faces out here who weren't here at the last public hearing, so I hope we can give those folks a chance to speak. But anybody who'd like to come forward, please do so. Give us your comments. State your name when you come to the podium. We want to hear what you say. Who would like to start?
I'm Mike Fisher, owner of Dickinson Ready Mix. I favor option 5, but that comes through here. Yeah, considering option 1 and option 5, it seems that the cul-de-sac on First Street Southwest comes in to the property that I own. The road to the other businesses in the church come into the property, and also the underground comes in to the property that I own, so I'd lose it on 3 sides. And I'm okay with that because it's a necessary project and we do support the project. And I understand you can't make a change to the city this big without anybody being affected. But option 1 concerns me, where it comes in deeper into the ready mix yard where you can see our main batch plant is, for 3 reasons. The north side is where we're going to plant, we had plans to put a building, and that prohibits that from happening. The second is you're going to put UPS and church traffic on a road where we have several trucks coming out, and that's a public safety concern. And it just takes away so much of the yard that comes down. And not to complain or anything, but option 5 does give access to UPS, who doesn't lose an inch of ground in either option, or the church that doesn't lose an inch of ground in either option, to make the bypass go. And plus on the road where the bridge is, we lose 60 feet of right of way on the east side of the road where we currently have storage for precast in the building. So as a owner of the ready mix, I would like to see option 5 based on the public safety of the traffic that comes in. We would not put any trucks on Hollywood Boulevard at all, period, not one that comes out. The only additional traffic that I would see there would be UPS traffic. Any questions for me?
Well, let me put you on the spot a little bit, Mr. Fisher, if I could. I'm hearing you say you prefer option 5. Can you make option 1 work?
Well, I think you can make anything work.
Okay.
But it does, I mean, we're in a landlocked situation, and you're going to put public traffic on a spot where we have 400 trucks coming in and out of a day.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Fisher? Nope. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Hello, Kyle Kuntz Builders. Looking at this, we've paid attention from the beginning. Option 5, we're not really fans of for a couple reasons. One, Hollywood Boulevard is a street that wasn't originally planned for a street. The houses to the east already have short driveways. If you look over there, some of those garages are only garage to back a curb are probably 20 feet. The other thing I'm concerned about is how close our office building will be. Here, it's almost painted on the top of our building. Not sure how close or if they're going to be taking up the sidewalk with that. That seems like a lot of stuff to happen for one business. I guess the one question that I would have for Mike and Scott with the ready mix, I understand this project's important to the city, and I understand the things that the ready mixer is giving up. Like you said, they're giving it up in multiple areas. To try to make it work, the question I have for Mike and Scott are, you know, you say the trucks would go on option 1, they would go onto that road, and you're talking about doing truck storage up there. Currently, none of your trucks go that way. They always go out the other way and they leave at Westgate. If you had truck storage, would any of that change? you wouldn't be checking trucks out on option one. You would not be using that road for trucks anyways. So there's not a whole lot of difference there because you don't take concrete trucks there, you don't take supply trucks there. It's giving you your batch pad area. So I guess for me, the truck thing, I leave and go from there 30, 40 times a day. I never see trucks go that way. They always come out Westgate and they enter at Westgate. So the other things with option 5 is one, you know, I know American Welding and Gas, they're already where they're at. That's a tough scenario there, taking through the houses. But we have traffic, we have pickups, we have trucks. People that pick up materials at the precast plant, that's already a lot of truck traffic for those residents on that street. We're also adding, you know, as we do that, the UPS, we're talking just in that street. The other thing that concerns me is as that stuff gets onto Villard Street. As we've been there, we've tried to take all of our traffic goes to State Avenue. I know when there's times when we do go up to Villard and try to take a left, or you pull up beside someone that, or behind someone that's doing, they wait, and then they just take a chance and they gun it because the traffic is so heavy there. So now we're going to be adding more. So I guess that's all comments I have. If anyone's got any questions for me.
Mr. Kuth, in both options, you're gonna, let me get it straight here, you're gonna leave via Hollywood Boulevard, correct?
Correct. For us, it's not going to change, no.
Pardon?
It's not, I mean, we're going to be leaving,
It's
we're
no
getting
change for you
changed.
guys.
But it is the traffic to our neighbors or the houses to the east. And it's going to increase the volume at that Villard and Hollywood Boulevard. So that part would affect it, the more traffic.
How many trucks do you guys have that use that a day? Or?
I mean, we come and go to our shop all day long. You know, in the morning, we probably have 8 to 9 pickups, trucks going. But throughout the day, they come back and forth all day.
I wasn't at the last meeting, prior engagement, but on the UPS distribution, was there some comments made about the number of trucks that they would use going over and out Hollywood Boulevard versus option 1? I mean, I'm trying to get an idea of what the traffic pattern is, how many trucks you guys got coming and going. Can you come up to?
And I guess the only other comment with that being said, like I said, we're not affected as much, but we have those neighbors to that side, and they're already experiencing a lot of the writing mix and our traffic to start with. So I guess that's where we're just looking at not increasing it to the point where there is going to be issues on that street and at the Villard. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Just to address Mr. Steiner, we've got a semi.
Give
that's
us your name again.
Oh,
if you-
Andrew Gooden. I'm the manager at the UPS. We've got a semi that's like 4:30 in the morning that comes in with the 3 trailers, and then we dispatch. We're slowing back down. I put like 18 trucks out on the road today. We leave about 8:30, 8:45. We don't come back and forth. Generally, they go out and then trickle back at night, sometime, you know, between 5 and 8 o'clock. We've got 12 employees in the morning and 4 at night, plus the drivers with their personal vehicles. So
Okay, so again, in question to you is, in both options, you still have the option of going north on the west side of your
yeah,
facility also, correct?
I was just thinking about that. There's an elevation change there. It's probably thigh high-ish between us and Dickinson Ready Mix, and I'm not sure how much it's going to take to get that graded out, or whether or not we'd be able to get over that without bottoming out the trailers and stuff. There's little
I
complication
didn't
there.
quite hear you.
Oh,
So your option, the amount of trucks that you're running over on Hollywood Boulevard on option 5, is not a great deal?
No, it'll be, we'll say 20 out, 20 back, and 2 semis. One in the early morning and one about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Goodman, you prefer option 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Before you leave the podium there, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit too. Tell us how you would operate UPS if we choose option 1.
I was just rolling that around in my head. It's going to just be well, the smaller brown vans, I mean, that's no problem. They can go anywhere. I was just thinking about how that's going to be lined up if it might cost us that we have to bring in 2 semis. We just can't pull 3 trailers in there. It's just not going to be maneuverable. We'd probably have to get a little bit creative with they'd come in facing north to south and then drop them and then have to turn them around one at a time so we could put them back on and then put them on the door and then take them back off and have to face the other direction. We can do a lot of stuff. If somebody wanted to look at YouTube someday, there was a parking lot that somebody filmed over a 24-hour period. It might have been like New York City. It says like UPS Tetris, and it shows what we can do with trailers in small areas.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. It would be easier if the access was to the south there, but like Dickinson Ready-Mix, we could make anything work.
Okay, thank you much. Anyone else?
Larry Phelan, Breakforth Bible Church. If you look at option 1 here, and you have any problems whatsoever with truck wrecks or anything like that, there's going to be UPS and the church will be locked in until it's all removed. There's no other access out. If you take a look at the just north of the in the northwest corner of the UPS building, there is a I'll call it's where they back in. They can back trucks in right there. They can back trucks in to unload. You're either going to stop that. That would be stopped coming in from the west there with option 1, or I mean, I don't think you can be creative enough to make that work. So then you go. So our official opinion, which I've already turned in to HDR and to the company, was option 5. And option 5 gives a, even though it affects the Hollywood Boulevard, it also, for safety factors, would produce an option in and out if something was to go wrong. So we support option 5.
Maybe I'd ask you the same question. We understand your preference, but if we were to go with option 1, how would you operate at the church with your access?
Well, you go back to option 1.
If we were to go with
Yeah,
option
go back
1.
to that picture, would you? If you look, when you the access to the church and UPS, that where you got us coming in at the church, Andrew said that that's thigh high. Well, it's all of that. And so when you come in on that road, you're going to end up sloping that all the way in, or you're either going to take more of a DRM out, or you're going to take away a whole bunch of our parking spots by coming in that, on that side, because you have to cut it down about 4 feet. I'm gonna make a guesstimate. I've never measured it, because right now there's a brick wall back there. The same thing over here on the southwest corner. That's the same amount of drop there also. So you're either gonna dig back to make that slope, or you're gonna end up taking out more of our land, the UPS and ours, considerably by trying to get that slope down so cars can travel in.
But for your option, that is your access point, whether it's option 1 or option 5. If you look at either one, your access point is on the northwest corner of your building.
Correct?
And in option 5, that is to be your access point too. Option 5 isn't designed to let every traffic flow this way and then shoot up to the church. Either option, your access is supposed to be the same, whether you go with, this is strictly supposed to be for UPS. It's not designed to come down Hollywood like you're going to UPS and then shoot up to the church or the Pizza Hut or anything like that. Your access remains the same no matter which option they go
But
with.
then I go back to what I originally said. This is the safest thing to get in and out if you have anything that goes wrong. You can block the other end with some sort of an accident. So, safety-wise, option 5 works the best.
Okay?
Thank you for your comments.
I'm Cole Pryor, manager of American Welding and Gas. Was not able to come to other meetings. Either I didn't know or could not make them. Both of these don't really change anything with me. I guess my biggest concern is because we're landlocked on every single option here. We have trailers with pups that bring gases and all that to us once a week, plus freight liners bringing freight to us, like MME and all that. My biggest concern is turning left to go back on the interstate off on Ballard. And also earlier, we were talking with the fire department, and they told us that we could not have any of our gas trucks going in residential or limiting that. So I guess that's my concerns.
Appreciate the comments. Have you been told why that access has been cut off? You understand?
Yeah, I mean, to enable to get up to the grade, right?
Yeah, okay.
So which option for you?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean,
Okay,
it's
yeah,
landlocked. It's the same way either way.
okay.
Appreciate your comments.
Mike Fisher, Dickinson Ready Mix. Mr. Romans, on the one grade question that you had.
Yeah.
On option 5 that comes in, when you come south into the Ready Mix, you have 180 feet or 140 feet, whatever it is measured on that road to make your 4 feet of grade.
Okay,
So it comes down smoothly on a road that's going to be currently put in. And at option 1, I don't know if you guys can switch back to option 1. That road comes deeper into the ready mix,
Mhm.
and that road running east and west is much shorter to make up that 5 foot of grade. So the issue is you don't have to take away more land from Dickinson Ready Mix or more land from Breakbrook Bible Church on option 5, because that east and west road is already there, and you can establish the grade from the west going to the east,
okay,
and it would be minimal.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Olerman, owner of Medicine Shop, and I wanted to talk real quick after we talked to the American Welding and Gas crew. I agree with the safety issue with the gases going back along that public road. And then our drive-through, of course, the whole reason we got this property was for the State Avenue access drive-through. And the drawing looks like it's real close. I haven't had anybody tell us what kind of access, if we can sneak something up in there or not. But either of the plans really do anything for us. We lose it no matter what. So just voice my concern on that and the American Gas welding safety with all their vehicles going, through residential area. But that's all I got. So I don't approve of any of them.
Okay. Appreciate the comment. Anybody else?
Bob Hine, Pizza Hut. The original number 5 we're using part of my parking lot at one time. Now I see that's not being used on either one of these. Am I correct?
Mr. Kubis, can you help us with that?
Well, I don't want to speak for the DOT, but I believe they have relooked at some of the access options, and I think what they were showing as blue before in your parking lot was all the areas that they felt they might need to reconstruct just to maybe make some grade changes work, like Mr. Fisher was saying earlier. I believe this is kind of a pared down version of it, what they would need to construct to provide access only, not going into the parking lot and doing any work like that. So I think what you see there is what the DOT would plan on working on. I couldn't say for certain exactly the right-of-way limits that they'd need to acquire to do that work, but this would be the work that they're looking to do on the asphalt.
I don't understand what you said.
Well, I think they've revised their plan a little bit in your parking lot, and they'd be doing less work in your parking lot.
Less as in what? What does it mean less? I don't understand less.
I think he's saying this option in comparison to what you referred to, the way it looked a month ago. They've they've fine-tuned things a little bit.
That's fine. I mean, my biggest concern was losing my parking lot. And am I losing my part of my parking lot now on either option?
The way the DOT is giving us the project as it stands today is what you see. Now, everybody, not only you, Mr. Hine, but everybody in this audience, I hope, understands that anything that's in blue, that is right-of-way that the DOT is proposing to acquire. So you're going to be approached individually. Anybody who has property underneath this blue, you're going to be approached individually by the DOT to purchase that right-of-way. Mr. Kubis, correct me if I'm saying this wrong.
Well, they do have lines on there, not shaded areas, but green lines that I think are called out as their proposed right-of-way. And the reason that no one has been contacted yet, the DOT policy is or their guidelines are that they get a design finalized and they know exactly what they're going to take to a landowner, what they need exactly. These are still, while they've designed these to a point, they're still conceptual and they haven't been finalized. So I think it's a little hard to see up there, but there is a green line up there where they are showing some right away, and a lot of times it kind of borders or goes around the blue shaded areas. So the parking area, Mr. Hine, that was shaded in previous drawings on the west side of your lot. However, they've looked at, I didn't see the detailed design, but they've reworked that, and I think that parking area is now off the table as far as the DOT is concerned. So.
Okay, what did they, I see some blue there right to the west of my store, right there. What is that going to be used for?
I can't answer that question. I don't know what the proposed.
Okay.
use
Mr.
was
Hine,
there.
let me jump in here, because
Sure.
I did say it a little bit wrong. It is the green line, which by and large is the blue, but it's not entirely the blue. In other words, the blue you're referring to right now, to the west of your building, they're suggesting they're going to do some construction there, correct?
Correct, yeah, the blue is proposed work. I think, and maybe Mr. Kessler can help me out, there was some talk about trying to maximize the parking in the lot, and so they've looked at that. And then, of course, the blue on the east side is re-looking at the drive-through as it would loop around now in this proposal. And I think that's being looked at to match the grade of the street. The grade of the street, they'll be changing slightly, so that would be the blue area shaded to the east.
Mr. Kuba, is it fair to say that when they come to Mr. Hine and others for right-of-way purchase, that they will have the final layout?
Correct. That's their policy, is that they'll have the final layout, exact limits of whatever right-of-way or temporary construction easements that they would need.
Well, I don't know what they're using it for. That's the only issue. Are they taking my parking lot, or are they taking some of my parking lot, or what are they doing?
Well, on the northern side, I think you can see the green line there. That might be a portion of the parking lot that they would be taking. But the areas around the building, I don't think there's any interest in taking land there, no.
Mr. Hine, if I can help, I think what their intentions are is that your traffic would flow down the road, enter your property, come down, go through your drive-through, and then return this way. And so to facilitate that, they just need to acquire some of this property. So you may lose a couple parking spots here, but you would retain these parking spots here.
Okay, my question, see, the area to the west,
This here.
right, and that's very important to us in my business. And I could get by if I didn't lose that parking lot. I mean, I can make it work. It's not great, but I can make it work. But if they're going to use some of that, then that's tough for me.
Is
So-
there parking in that area now, or are they giving you more?
Well, we
parking
have
in
to
that
have,
area in the blue?
our delivery cars, we'll have, on a weekend, we'll have 12, 13 delivery cars, and they have to park somewhere.
I'm just wondering if they're moving what they're taking on the east side and moving it to the west side.
But what are they using it for?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know.
I wanna-
If I'm wrong, are they adding spaces back in on the west side?
I think you're right, Carson. When you look at it, they end up taking 3 spots on his east side
I think it looks like they put 3 spots there.
and adding 3 spots there. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
So that they can provide you with your drive-through access, and to do that, they take 3 spots, but they add 3 spots.
I can this makes more sense to me now. I mean, we can get by with this. And then, of course, the rest of the west of my building still be used for parking.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yep.
Well, there would have to be an access here for travel.
Why?
Well, when they enter your property to utilize your drive-through.
Oh, sure,
This
yeah.
is how the route they would take.
Yeah. But the customers could park to the north of my building, right?
Right here?
Yep.
Oh, yes, most
So
definitely.
they took 3 spots to get your drive-through, added 3 spots on the west side to compensate for that, so you didn't lose any parking, got your drive-through.
Okay.
And
And the
it's the
customers-
same in either option, option 1 or
Customers,
5.
to pick up a pizza, customers would just park right closest to the building anyway, so
Right.
access wouldn't be a big thing. Our biggest issue would be us accessing the street
Yep.
to the north and then over there. When you close both of our exits and the entrances, that really hurt us, but if this is the way best you can do, I guess we could live with it for a while.
Okay. Option 1 or 5 for you, or do you?
B1, I think, would be fair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for me?
No, thank you.
5, that's 5 that you were talking about, but your options, your property shows the same on both options.
Yeah, option 1 and option 5 really doesn't change for me.
That's right.
Am I correct?
That's right.
correct.
Right.
Okay.
Kyle, Coons Builders again. I guess after Craig, you said a couple things. I had a couple more concerns that I wasn't sure on the table. If you look on option 5, that proposed right-of-way line goes through our new office building there. Is that possibly in jeopardy? And/or also it goes through our parking lot of Sanford Clinic. We're in the moment we are dealing with Clinic and Sanford possibly expanding. As they expand, we are maxed out on parking spots. And that could jeopardize that project. Right now, we've already calculated when we do expand where we are with parking spots. If we would lose anything on our east side, we could not move forward. The other thing is with that green line, am I correct, is the right-of-way need to be clear? That it runs right through our new building? I think those in the picture are actually trailers, but the trailers are set exactly where our building is.
Again, I would state that this is a conceptual drawing that they're trying to provide some detail to, and I wouldn't get
I understand that.
too caught up in it. I understand, sometimes the difference between one parking spot is a huge difference. I can't speak to the accuracy of those right-of-way lines that are on there right now. Again, the DOT will finalize this as they have an option that they'll take through to 100% design. So while I know it's important when it's that one parking spot for your business, I can't speak that line is 100% accurate and it'll be taking out a parking spot or not.
Yeah, and I guess my only other comment is again, we're obviously against option 5 because of the effects over there. We do understand everybody is affected greatly here. The other thing that just in conversation we had, and the guy from the church mentioned it, a safety thing. Well, I look at it completely different than he's looking at it because, yeah, he's only got one access, but now you're giving access in a loop. So what stops traffic from just flowing through UPS and the church and leaving? Now you have people going on, he's getting a private drive. Yeah, it's a safety thing because you have a one in and one out, but I'm nervous about people using that. I guess that's, for me, it's creating a loop. Who says I can't just start leaving mine and start heading out that way to head west and just go through the church because I don't have to deal with traffic on Villard. So I'm thinking that's creating some issues that haven't been talked about, and I just wanted to bring that up. I felt the one access was a safer for people walking in the parking lot versus a different one. UPS with their trailers, if they do they like option 5, but their yard doesn't change in size. Either way, they only have one access. So are they going to have to unhook trailers in this public right-of-way and then take them in? Either way, they still have only one access. Right. So I guess for me, we talk about it because we care about the neighborhood. We understand everybody's livelihood, but we really think we have general commercial, then we have industrial, and we're bringing industrial back over into the residential. It's a progression that all new developments moving forward are trying to do, and we're taking a backlash and we're bringing it right back into a neighborhood. So that's my concern. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jackie Martin. I'm a resident over on 1464 2nd Street South. I appreciate the fact that they gave me a little bit more room rather than driving 10 feet from my bedroom. But like Mr. Kunz just got done saying, after that road is built, it's a road and it can be used by anybody that has a reason to go over there, even if they don't have a reason to go over there. It's not going to stop the church people from coming back this way, coming south and then going back north on Hollywood. It's not going to stop Dickinson Ready Mix, although they're working with you. I appreciate that, from using it to move whatever they have to move into that area. So option 5, like I said, I appreciate the leeway that was given when it was redone now. it's still not an option for all the traffic we're going to be seeing there. Kunz Builders, like he mentioned, the American Gas Company, and anybody else. And if it comes to a point where it's going to get so busy that people are going to be driving north on Hollywood and they don't want to wait for traffic, they're going to be buzzing through the neighborhood in order to get to where they want to go. And we have older people, we have younger people, we have kids. So we have a conglomeration of different ages of people and safety concerns there. Questions?
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anybody else want to speak to either of the options?
My name's Don Galster. I live over there next to Jackie Martin, and I was up here at the last meeting and told you my concerns as a residential area, and it always has been for the last, been there for 32 years. Everything's a dead-end street. You either got to come down it and go one direction. You're going through a residential area with all your trucks and whatever's going through there. So my option would be for number 1.
Thank you much. Any other comments? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. We'll look for comments from commissioners.
I would just like to have Chief Sivak come up to the podium. I want to ask him some questions on these options.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Chief Sivak, on option 5, we do have a way to get on the other side of state. On option 1, we do not. How do you feel about that?
You know from past comments I make on other developments that the more tactical options we have, that's what we prefer. So from that point of view, option 5 gives us that. However, if you could go back to option 1, I'd have to ask Mr. Fisher, isn't there going to be some point of connectivity from your operations further south on State Avenue to what is going to be east of State Avenue? It may not be a public road per se, but there is a point of connectivity there. There's going to be truck traffic that goes across there. Right. Right.
Would that eliminate, because if that's not under there and they don't have access to it in option 5, then they got to go around and they do got to come through the along the borders of the houses there. Whereas in option 5, they can just skip over there and skip back without affecting the...
The reason I'm asking for confirmation on it is because private access or business access becomes a point of emergency access for us. So if that exists, that still in fact answers the question for us is there another point of access? Is there another way in? Yes, there is. It's underneath the overpass and it's down further on State Avenue at this point. It may not be a public street, but it still counts on our looking at it from the point of view of emergency access. So,
Sivak, if I could answer
Sure,
that question
sure.
for you. Maybe Aaron, if you could put up 5 again, please. I believe the intent right now is to provide a 16-foot graveled road in option 1 that would allow Dickinson Ready Mix access to this yard underneath the underpass to here. It is intended to be a private access, as you have mentioned, and not be a public road. So that confirms, I think, what you were asking.
right, that becomes a point that we can look at as a secondary access. There's things that we would want to see with that, as in certain widths and in certain construction of that roadway, of course, if it's going to count for us that way. But
actually does answer that question, that we have a second way in there.
Because that's my concern about having the overpass, is getting emergency vehicles on the other side and back over. And then if you're having this cul-de-sac and you have to turn around and go the other direction on one, and there's no other action, that's what was my question.
This is a very difficult decision. It impacts everybody in a negative way, whether it's option one or whether it's option two, yet impacts the community in a positive way overall. That leads us to have to move forward with it. I'm not uncomfortable with one, knowing that that other access on the private side is there. This, of course, gives us a public street for that secondary access.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments?
Well, I guess I will go over the tally so that you in the audience and those at home can see where the score falls. We had 3 that spoke this evening that were in favor of option number 5. We had 2 that neither option or didn't have a preference, and we had 4 that were in favor of option 1. And then Chief Seebach would fall into the category of, I guess, either one, I guess. Is that the math you came up with, Sean?
That's not what I came up with.
What'd you come up with?
Knowing that you were a capable gentleman, I didn't keep a tally this time.
Shirley, what'd you come up with?
I have Dickinson Ready Mix wants option 5, UPS wants 5, the church wants 5, and Pizza Hut 5 or 1. Doesn't matter, but he says 5 is fine now.
As long as I can keep my parking lot.
Right.
Okay.
So then we have Kyle Kuntz Builders wants 1, Jackie wants 1, and Gulfsters want 1. So
Okay.
it's tough, folks.
Basically, you know, either side could bring in more people and we could tally them up.
Yep, exactly.
In the end, we got to look at both options and figure which one is best for the community and which one we support. We need the overpass, we know that. Personally, I think in the long run for the city, option 5 might benefit the city with that additional road going down there. We may have to go south there sometime and continue on, which would give us that option. I haven't heard enough of the traffic that would be a problem going on Hollywood Boulevard. We could discuss that always too. And like I said, if you don't have option 5 and Dickinson Ready Mix wants to get to their site on the east side, they're going to go around and come down Hollywood Boulevard right alongside of those residences. And I'm going to just guess that they go to that site a bit. It's a tough decision. I think I would have to favor option 5 at this time.
You know, and I guess I would go just the opposite, Carson. You know, if this map, option number 5, was coming before planning and zoning as just a new proposal, I don't think it would fly, because what you're doing is what we've tried to avoid the whole time, is it takes away that buffer between residential and industrial by allowing that industrial type traffic to now flow through a residential section. It also means that we're spending taxpayer money, you know, whether it's the DOT or whatever, to accommodate one business with a special road that could have been accommodated with option 1 and not having the additional expense of adding, the cul-de-sac and this road. They did move the road over to not infringe on the right-of-way for the homeowner, but the road still goes right past their property. You're asking a lot of residences to take on additional traffic in their area. Whether it's intended or not, it is going to create a loop where, just as the pastor said, that people will now believe it's their option to come down Hollywood to access any of those businesses on that side. And what you're asking the residents to do is to kind of take one for the team when there's an option on the table that all the businesses can still have their access, and you're using additional taxpayer money to accommodate one business, and that could be accommodated with option one's access.
I'd like to say this. Chief Sivak kind of summarized it pretty well, because we got a situation that both options probably, I expect all the property owners on the both sides of State Avenue would prefer that neither option was happening. On the other hand, I think both options are workable. I understand that one is less desirable than the other to certain property owners, but I think both are workable. And I think that whether you want to talk about the traffic on the east side or, disturbances on the west side, I think that both are workable options. I also want to repeat to all of you that there are a number of other issues that we're still trying to work out with the DOT on this project. I know there are some people here that are interested in some of those other issues. That's going to continue to happen in the next very few weeks because this thing is moving very fast right now. But,
well, and originally as a commission, we did go with option number one was our original recommendation. And we got here today because we did open it up to public comment. After taking public comment and weighing the options, we have gotten ourselves to this public hearing, and we're back to weighing the options. And I can see we're kind of split on our decision, and either one is going to work in the end. But option one is the one that we had originally endorsed too, as a commission.
other comments from commissioners?
Well, I'm uncomfortable having 400 trucks go east. I think they need to stay on the west side, so.
What 400 trucks are we talking about?
Well, Dickinson Ready Mix. I prefer they just stay where they're at and go west, so.
So you prefer option one?
5.
5.
Okay, Dickinson Ready Mix told us tonight that they would not be using
Hollywood Boulevard.
Okay. More discussion? If not, we should look for motion.
Well, I would make the motion that we stick with our original decision and that we endorse option one.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Can I vacate the chair and make the second?
Yes, Mr. President, that would be allowable.
I'm going to do that and make the second on the motion. Okay, more discussion.
Just a point of clarification, Commissioner Oltmans, I assume you mean one revised rather
One
than?
revised, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
just making sure.
Of the two options that we were looking at tonight, option one of this evening, yep.
Any more discussion? Not, we will vote. Mr. Oltmans?
Aye.
Mrs. Dukart?
No.
Mr. Steiner?
No.
Chair votes aye.
Mr. President, in the event of a tie vote, the motion does not pass. Motions, in order to pass, need to be approved by a majority of those members present and entitled to vote. That would require at least 3 of you to be on one side of any particular issue. So the motion fails.
Motion fails, and from a practical standpoint, looks like we'll probably have to wait for Mr. Johnson.
That or your original endorsement of option 1 would stand.
I would like to have the full board here myself.
What you're saying, Mr. Kessler, is the formal communication DOT has from us right now is option 1.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And in light of nothing passing this evening, it would remain 1 unless a full commission vote would be held. And we have communicated to the DOT that we would have a recommendation for them tomorrow morning based on tonight's public hearing. Now, it's well within your control to set another meeting or use the February 5th scheduled city commission meeting to take this up again, assuming that we'll have a full commission at that time.
I do not know how Mr. Johnson would vote, but I'd hate to not have him included in this ball of fun we're having here at this time.
I agree. I really would.
Well, and again, I understand, Mr. Kessler, what you're saying about the DOT, but from a practical standpoint, I expect we'll look at this Monday night.
So because we're making that agenda tomorrow, I'm assuming that we've held 2 public hearings already, that we will just take a vote and not hold a public hearing?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
I think that's fair. Before we adjourn, I want to thank all of you for coming. Everybody's really given good comments. I know they've been heartfelt. This is the way things should work, regardless how this turns out. I do want to especially thank Mr. Kessel and Mr. Kubis, too, because I know they've done a lot of work with the DOT, the DOT's consultant, some of the property owners, and they've spent a lot of hours on this for a long time, but especially the last 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, with that, we will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.